A couple of days ago, I did a poll on the channel. I asked you guys, does Baker Mayfield make the Seattle Seahawks a playoff team if he gets traded to Seattle? And surprisingly, 76% of you guys on 500 votes said no. And at first, I was kind of taken back by this because initially, before I started digging in and really doing some research, I thought that Baker Mayfield made Seattle a playoff team. But now when I really look at the roster and the schedule in depth, I gotta agree with you guys. Because here's the thing. I don't think that Baker Mayfield is a bad quarterback. I call him the taxi driver quarterback. And what a taxi driver quarterback is, my definition, is that they're quarterbacks that if you give them the keys, you give them a good offensive line, a great wide receiving core, and a legitimate running game, they could produce at a very high level for you. A good example of this is Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins. But with Seattle, if Baker Mayfield is to get traded there, which the rumors are indicating that there's a strong possibility of that happening, I don't really think that Seattle would be all that improved. Now, it would be naive of me to say that Seattle getting Baker Mayfield wouldn't make them a better football team, because it definitely does. The difference between starting Baker Mayfield and starting either Drew Lock or Geno Smith. And even if you hate Baker Mayfield and you don't like him as a player and you think he sucks, I think you would just be a hater at that point to think that he isn't a better option and doesn't improve Seattle's chances of having a better season compared to starting Geno Smith and Drew Lock. So if you come in the comment section with that nonsense, I'm just going to scroll past you and ignore you, because you're just hating at that point. So if you were building a team and you have three quarterbacks to choose from, Geno Smith, Drew Lock, and Baker Mayfield, you're taking Baker Mayfield. And if you say any other of the two quarterbacks, then I know for a fact that you are a hater and you don't need to be nowhere near anybody's general manager position. And you don't need to be nowhere near anybody's head coaching job. Got it? Okay. But their offensive line, outside of Charles Cross and Gabe Jackson, still a mess. And you would think over the last couple of years, with the offensive line being the Achilles heel for Seattle, you think that they would have had this thing fixed by now. But they don't. What are they doing in Seattle? I understand that you may not have the most money to spend in cap space because Russell Wilson was hogging up all the cap, being a hypocrite. He's going to call you out for, having a lack of talent on the offensive line, but yet he's going to hog up all of the salary cap money, right? I think the more logical thing would be okay, I want the offensive line to be better, so I'm going to allow you guys to rework my contract, so then you guys have a little bit more money to help improve the offensive line, and I can get a little bit more protection. But hey, he's gone now. He's Denver's problem. But I just find that the biggest hypocrisy amongst NFL quarterbacks. They want help. They want the team to get this. They want the team to get that. But yet the team is cap strapped because the quarterback's hogging up all the money. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then you have some people saying, man, JT, it's Seattle's fault because they should have built the team around Russell Wilson's contract. How are you supposed to build around somebody's contract when they're taking a good portion of the cap? That doesn't make no sense to me. But the offensive line, it kind of looks like a disaster. You have Damian Lewis at offensive guard, which he had a pretty okay 2020 campaign. But last year, he wasn't all that great. His play kind of went down a little bit. So this offensive line is still amongst the worst in the NFL. And by putting Baker Mayfield in this situation, I don't really think you do him any favors. Although you do have a really good supporting cast. And that probably is going to be what the argument is from Seahawks fans down in the comment section. You're going to say, JT, Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl with the worst offensive line in the NFL, but yet he had a really good group of wide receivers. And I understand that. You had DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett, Joe Burrow had T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. But you want to know what the difference is? Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is not Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is different. Baker Mayfield is a solid quarterback when he has help, but when he has to make up for inefficiencies on certain positions on the offensive line and you're asking him to kind of carry the load in that department, you're kind of asking him to fail in a sense, because Baker Mayfield isn't that kind of quarterback. He's not the quarterback that can still perform at a high level despite not having a great offensive line. You see, not everybody is Joe Burrow. It's a reason why Joe Burrow is the quarterback that he is. It's a reason why we hold him in so much high regard. A great quarterback can make up for certain inefficiencies that you may have at certain positions. But an average quarterback can't do that. And for Baker Mayfield, he kind of falls in that average category. So even if the offensive line is bad, you are going to have a good amount of weapons for him to throw to, especially Noah Fant. A lot of people kind of overlooked Noah Fant in that trade, but I think that was a big acquisition for Seattle. And for this defense, I think that this defense probably could be one of the best that Seattle has had in the last couple of years. And their defense actually somewhat turned the corner last year. Not enough people talked about it, but their defensive line is pretty good. You have pretty good depth there. I think your starters are pretty solid. At cornerback, I like Kobe Bryant, rookie out of Cincinnati. He was the Jim Thorpe winner last year, which is awarded to the best defensive back in college football. You have Sidney Jones, he was okay. And then you have Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. So this defense should be a really good unit. And I also can't forget about Jordan Brooks, who is now starting to come on as of late at linebacker after struggling early on in his career when he first got drafted to Seattle. So I think that Seattle, with Baker Mayfield, I think they probably go from a 4 to 5 win team to maybe they're able to pull off 6-7. But I still don't really know if that makes them a playoff team. Now, Seattle Seahawks fans are probably going to say, JT, we could at least contend for the 7 seed. I mean, can you? I mean, your offensive line isn't that great. And that's really big because you're in a division with the LA Rams that has Aaron freaking Donald. You have to be able to make sure that you can protect your quarterback from him. So for Seattle, it's going to be a big difference between having a Russell Wilson back there that has all the mobility to kind of make a little bit more out of a bad offensive line situation compared to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield isn't the magician that Russell Wilson is. He's not Houdini. So for Baker Mayfield, going to Seattle gives you a chance to start and prove yourself again. But I kind of think that if you had to choose between Carolina and Seattle, I probably would choose Carolina if I'm taking the coaching staff and the organization's history out of the equation. Because Carolina at the moment has a better offense talent-wise than what Seattle has. They may not have the talent that you have at wide receiver in Seattle, but you do have DJ Moore. You do have Robbie Anderson. You're going to have C-Mac back there when he's healthy. And Carolina has a better offensive line, at least on paper, than what Seattle has. So if I'm Baker Mayfield, I probably have a better shot at being able to win more games in Carolina, because with that offensive line, I don't really think Baker Mayfield is going to have all that great of a chance. So you guys let me know. Do you guys think that Baker Mayfield makes the Seattle Seahawks a playoff team? Let me know down in the comment section down below if you're watching this on YouTube.